picking up a few hands. You can't let your mood rise and fall with your stack.
2 cowboys.
Big hands can look invincible, but you can never drop your guard, because the highs and lows of the game can crush souls.
Uh-oh, trouble.
Sometimes they have the one hand you don't want to see.
So sick.
You can make all the right decisions and still lose.
Just another cold deck. Nice hand, sir. Wow, wow, wow.
Wait a sec. Now you're counting his chips.
Everything okay now?
But don't count too high, because there's still one card to come, and it can be equally as cruel.
That's sick. Ugh, so sick. Ship it. Some people just never lose. It's a hard way to make an easy living.
That's poker, folks.
Welcome to NBC's Poker After Dark. I'm Leanne Tweeden. For 4 years, we've played exclusively No Limit Hold'em. But this week, that all changes. We're running a pot limit Omaha game. 4 whole cards, not 2. Some of the faces are the same, but the game is definitely different. Hope you enjoy. Here's the lineup. Brandon Adams, Patrick Antonius, Phil Ivey, Tom Dwan, Brian Hastings, and Phil Galfond. Let's get the cards in the air.
It's the cash game you've all been waiting for on Poker After Dark. Pot Limit Omaha, better known as PLO. How about a quick crash course?
This week we're playing Pot Limit Omaha.
The game is similar to No Limit Hold'em with 2 key differences.
You're dealt 4 cards instead of 2.
There's still a flop, turn, and a river, but to make a 5-card hand, you need to use exactly 2 of your whole cards and 3 from the board.
The betting's different too.
The most you can bet or raise is the size of a pot.
So that makes pre-flop all-ins less frequent.
Enjoy the action, it's a great game.
Each player is going to be starting with $100,000 in front of them. Blinds will be 3 and 600. And the game isn't the only change we've made. Our graphics are going to be 4-color to help follow along with flush draws. Also, I'm going to be sharing my booth for the first time ever with a man who's got over $4 million in career tournament earnings, 2nd place in the 0650K horse event, and no stranger to PLO, Mr. Andy Block. How are you, Andy?
I'm doing pretty good. I think I'd rather be here with you than at this table full of all these Omaha Sharks.
Yeah, some of the best players in the world, and the action is going to get started right away. Phil Ivey limping in. You see a lot more of that in PLO than you do in Hold'em.
Pre-flop and PLO, there are a lot more drawing hands, and even a hand like pocket queens can be pretty vulnerable.
All right, here it is, 8-7 deuce with a couple of clubs, our first flop. Now, right away, we can see with those 4 color cards that Phil Galfond has flopped the nut flush draw.
Well, Hastings' pair of queens is currently in the lead, but an overpair in Pot Limit Omaha is a dangerous hand, especially when there are all these draws out there.
You definitely don't want to overplay something like that.
Of all these hands, I like Phil Galfond's hand the best here. He's got a draw to the nut flush, and that's a pretty strong hand in Omaha.
Always have to worry about the board pairing in PLO. Don't want to be up against a full house with that flush.
Phil Ivey and Tom Dwan both have a gut shot and a pair.
Yes, I gave him money.
3 players in for 2K a man.
And he never did.
Dwan picks up 2 pair on the turn, 8s and 5s.
In Finland he would be dead, but here he's still free.
2 pair is a good Texas Hold'em hand, but in Omaha, it's a very vulnerable hand.
Especially when you're looking at board texture like the one we've got here. Phil Galfond has added a straight draw to his hand. We see him reaching for chips. If a 4 hits the river, he'll have a 7 high straight, not an 8 high straight, because of course you must play 2 cards out of your hand with any combination of 3 from the board.
I paid it, and I paid him right away. And then this happened later.
Bet of 6,400.
Phil Galfond takes a stab at the pot. It's a semi-bluff. If he doesn't take it down right now, he might win a bigger pot on the river.
Speaking of bigger pot, you see the max raise graphic there. That represents the maximum amount that Tom Dwan, being the only player left in this hand, can make it. Remember, this is not no limit. We talked about 2 pair being a vulnerable hand, and you see Dwan sizing Galfond up.
I think most players in this spot would muck, but Galfond and Tom Dwan have a big history together. They've played a lot of hands, they're good friends, and they've talked a lot about the game.
Important to keep this situation in context. Dwan improves to kings and eights on the river. Galfond bricks out, doesn't make the straight or the flush.
Looks like Phil Galfond is going to continue with his bluff here. It would have been hard for Tom Dwan to call if he only had eights and fives.
But of course he's upgraded to kings and eights. That said, it feels unlikely that Galfond would be betting two pair.
Tom Dwan, even though he made a bigger two pair, he still can only beat a bluff.
Reluctant looking call.
You win.
And that's what Tom wanted to hear. He'll take the first pot of the night, and it is a big one, over $56,000.
Nice hand.
Throw everybody. It's good for the game.
Right.
Okay, it's
No
a
guarantees on a
double.
double straddle.
Yeah, it's good. One round like this.
Well, since this game has just been in the muck all night long, Patrick decided he wanted to spice things up on the second hand by implementing one full round of live straddles.
With Phil Ivey and give him a little bit more.
One straddle wasn't good enough to 1,200. They're going to do two straddles.
Ivy in there for 2,400 in the dark. Now, clearly, that has pot limit implications.
Now the pot's going to be bigger. People can make bigger bets and raises.
Tom Dwan and Brandon Adams both along. Now ace, king, king, deuce
I raised the pot.
for Patrick Antonius.
If you like tennis at all, it's the best.
And he's going to pot it to 12,300.
I like Patrick Antonius' hand here. Pocket Kings isn't the strongest hand by itself in pot limit Omaha, but when you add the suited ace, it definitely makes it worth a raise.
He's also got ace, king, which plays into a Broadway draw, ace, deuce, which plays into a wheel draw.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's right after you were saying that.
Action back around to Brandon Adams with queens and deuces. Should be an easy fold.
Brandon Adams might be thinking that Patrick Antonius is stealing in this spot, and that his queens might be the best hand.
Basically because I was tilted because I'm tired, and Phil said, looks like you got the eye of the tiger today.
He does have to worry about what Phil Ivey called with.
I'm like, you jinxed me. Patrick just potted it.
He's going to stick an extra 9,900 in the middle and join the fun.
So sick. I could have called too. Yeah.
Flop is 10-9-9, no flush draw on the board.
Just attack the deuce-deuce-6.
Brandon checks the over pair. Ivy's got a gut shot straight draw.
Gut shot straight draws aren't worth so much in Omaha because other players can have higher straight draws pretty easily, especially in this spot. He's got to be worried about a queen-jack if he does hit the 8.
Brandon's still the act.
Oh, what's that show? Sorry.
Patrick follows up that big pre-flop raise with a flop bet of $14,000.
Patrick doesn't want to show any weakness. There are a lot of possible draws, and he wants to get them out right away.
Reality is Adams has no draws at all. Until now, Jack of Hearts gives him the heart draw to go with the two queens. Patrick has picked up a Broadway draw. Can't like that card, though.
I think Patrick was really worried that he was already beat before that card came.
3 nines or a full house, a very real possibility for Brandon. Patrick knuckles in position. And the king of hearts on the river. Brandon hits his flush and checks it. Patrick has kings full of nines. This could get ugly.
It's not going to get too ugly, though. With a queen-high flush, looking at a pair on the board, he's got to be worried about a full house or a higher flush. He's not going to raise. He's going to lose at most one more bet.
67,000 and change in the pot already. You're starting to get a sense of why it is that 14 of the 15 biggest pots in online poker history have been PLO pots. Patrick bets 57,000.
62,000.
This is a tough spot to be in for Brandon Adams. He really can only beat a bluff here, and that's a pretty sizable bet.
$57,000 represents a majority of Brandon Adams' remaining stack. Patrick raised pre-flop, bet big on the flop, then checked the turn, and now bet big on the river.
I can't imagine too many hands that Patrick Antonius could have in this spot and be bluffing. Wow, what a great laydown.
No question, PLO is a game that requires tremendous amounts of discipline, much of which was demonstrated right there by Brandon Adams. Off to a flying start in our very first Poker After Dark Pot Limit Omaha game. Welcome back to our exclusive poker room inside Aria for more Poker After Dark, the cash game.
42.
Over $180,000 spread across the first two pots in our Pot Limit Omaha game.
PLO is a great action game. With 4 cards instead of just 2, there are so many more possibilities. You basically get dealt 6 hold'em hands for each Omaha hand.
6 different ways to combine the 4 cards in your hand. Give you 6 different options. Double straddle still in effect. Galfon's going to raise it to 6,500. Queen 10, 10, 9.
I like Phil Galfon's hand. All 4 cards are working together pretty well. He's got a flush draw, he's got lots of straight possibilities, and a pair.
The pre-flop PLO triple crown, if you will.
I don't really count as a New Yorker. I've been there 2 years.
Tom Dwan's cards not working together quite as harmoniously as Galfon's, but he's in there nonetheless for an extra 5,300.
Yeah, if you want to learn how to play Omaha pre-flop, don't watch Tom Dwan. Now, that being said, Tom Dwan is an excellent post-flop player, as we saw a couple hands ago, where he called Phil Galfon's river bluff.
Hastings joins the fun. 3 players take the flop of Ace, King, 8 with 2 diamonds. No flush draw out there. It's been checked to Phil Galfond, who checks his gut shot straight draw. 3rd diamond on the board. Hastings now with kings and 4s.
Hastings has the best hand, but it's pretty weak there. Anybody could have a flush.
Still no action. Knuckled around. Pretty blank-looking card on the end.
Hastings has the best hand if he doesn't get bluffed out of this pot.
Checked around a 3rd time to Phil. Gotta be tempting to try to steal.
Phil doesn't think his pocket 10s is going to win the pot if he checks here, so he's got to take a stab at this pot if he wants to have any real chance of winning it.
And let's not forget, there's 20 grand up for grabs in this pot. Phil doesn't want to phone it in by checking and giving up. And so there's the $10,500 bet. Dwan quickly out of the way, and now back over to Hastings. Not the easiest call for Brian.
Phil Galfond only bet about half the pot, so it looks like a value bet. It doesn't look like a bluff.
Sure enough, Brian Hastings folds the winner.
Thank you.
Tempted.
Tempted to check raise?
No,
Tempted to call.
tempted to the extremely bluff catch.
Yeah.
Phil Galfond's now batting 1 for 2 on his bluffs.
You see a lot more semi-bluffing than bluffing in Omaha.
In PLO, you have so many more possibilities on every flop. It's just so much more likely that you have a semi-bluffing hand.
Not to mention it's so much more likely that your opponent will have a hand that he'll be able to call a bluff with.
69.
Patrick has pocket kings again, and they're double suited. He has 2 possible flush draws.
Hold on.
Yeah, 93.
93?
He makes it 9,300 to go. Over to Tom Dwan. Jack 10, 8, 6, single suited.
This is actually better than some of the hands Tom Dwan has already played tonight. He's played a lot with Patrick Antonius. He probably thinks he can outplay him a little bit after the flop. The two are involved in a huge ongoing heads-up battle. Tom is currently ahead in that by a good margin.
How extreme of bluff catch were you thinking? Like king?
King 4. Two pair.
That's not an extreme.
9-5 Jack Rainbow. Pretty good flop for Tom Dwan.
That's a great flop for Tom Dwan. He flopped top pair and an open-ended straight draw.
You haven't got me yet.
Legitimate.
Patrick has 2 kings. He's also got a two-way straight draw, 10 for the Jack high straight, 6 for the 9 high straight.
Got a floor for you. You hang out. Give you a guest room.
If I was Tom Dwan in this spot, I'd go for the check raise.
Go down there and see my sister. Now, where you living now?
Yeah.
Like it there?
Yeah.
And Dwan's going to bet right into the pre-flop raiser, 16,200.
I raised the pot.
Better in LA?
I was only in LA for like 4 months, but yeah,
And
definitely.
Patrick quickly pots it to 71,000.
Honestly, it doesn't matter that much where I live.
No intimidation whatsoever. It's not necessarily the 2 kings that Patrick is keen on, but the fact that he has a double gutter to back him up.
Patrick thinks he may have the best hand. If he doesn't, he still has 8 outs to make a straight.
I'm all in. Call.
And Dwan's going to ship it all in.
Twice, I guess?
Yeah, it's fine.
Patrick calls and agrees to run it twice. There'll be 2 turn-in rivers.
My kings are good. Ooh. It's not a good hand to be up against.
Dwan's not happy to see Patrick's hand.
Patrick has the best hand right now, and with his straight draws, it really hurts Tom's chances. 2 pair, a 10 or 6, is not going to give Tom the winner.
Well, not a 10.
Now, if Patrick only had the pocket kings, Tom would be a favorite.
2 pairs.
A jack on the turn is a disastrous card for Patrick Antonius. 10 or a 6 for the straight would now give Tom the full house. Patrick needs a king for the first half. That's not it. First 120 grand go to Tom Dwan. Let's see if the second board will be any better for Patrick. Ace of clubs will help him.
The club flush draw takes away a couple of Tom's outs.
3 of diamonds safe as well. They'll hack it up.
Yeah, a lot of action is popping.
Like all of the
Yeah, you can't fire that.
income and tax information for what, the Scandinavians, basically. Like, I don't know about Finland, but in public, yeah, they can.
Adams and Antonius straddle and double straddle. Ivy first to act.
Everything is public in Finland.
That's bizarre, man.
And then people get very jealous.
Oh, I did too. Could have been interesting.
Phil Ivy limping in, which can be dangerous against a lineup like this that's talented and capable of getting after what they think is dead money.
Especially with all these straddles here, you can make a pretty big pot-sized raise.
Over to Galfon's pocket jacks.
Can never be too careful.
Yeah.
He declines the invitation.
I mean, if I know.
Adams along.
He's raising.
I raised the pot.
And Antonius puts in the pot-sized raise.
He's got pocket kings again.
Third tour of duty for Cowboys.
12-6 more, right?
In Patrick's hand.
Yeah. 12-6.
And Ivy makes the call in pretty short order with ace-jack 8-4.
I don't really like Ivy's call there. I mean, the ace-high flush draw really is the only thing he's got going for his hand.
Hastings makes the call as well. He's got a suited ace with a couple of queens. Over 50,000 in the pot heading to the flop. Brian Hastings flops the best hand. He's bumped his queens up to aces with a queen kicker. Ivy a touch behind, aces with a jack kicker. No flush or straight draws anywhere, and the action on Patrick.
Remember, you have to use exactly 2 cards from your hand. Now, Patrick only has a pair of kings. Any ace beats him. This is essentially a bluff here, and it could let Ivy win this pot. If Ivy decides to play here, there's no way Hastings calls.
And Ivy moves all in. Brutal development for Brian Hastings.
How much more?
He's going to do that.
I'd be surprised here if Patrick makes this call.
There's almost no chance with that board texture.
He can only call here if he thinks that Phil might have a small straight draw, like a 4 or 5.
Okay.
And he does call 47,000 more.
Not too much, buddy.
You don't have too much?
No.
No, it's very good.
This is good?
Yeah.
I mean, you're crazy.
You want to see my hand too? Or?
Well, I guess we have to, don't we? Oh, we don't have to. That's right, I forgot. Okay.
Patrick gets Phil to show his hand and doesn't want to show his hand. He's kind of embarrassed, I think, by his call here. He knows now he only has 4 outs, a king or a 9.
And I don't think they're going to be running it twice.
I'm very bad now.
That card hurts Patrick because a 9 no longer will give him the best hand.
That would, of course, give Ivy a jack-high straight. Queen is no good either. And don't expect one pair to hold up too often with a complete board out there in PLO.
Total rabbit out there.
But it did exactly that for Phil Ivey just now as he doubles through Patrick.
What'd you have?
Hey, he's queen, 4.
He was just ahead the whole way.
Brian Hastings knows he would have won that pot.
You got a suit, you said?
Yeah, I do.
Ace high?
Yeah. I think I should have pushed pre-flush.
Never be too careful.
Yeah.
So much easier to needle live than online.
Yeah.
12.
Is it 24 again? Are we just doing that the whole time?
Well, we did our 1 round, so
I'm not doing another round of
okay.
24s.
so you want to...
Yeah.
Down to a single straddle, making Ivy first to act again. And again he limps. Dwan makes it 5,700.
That's actually slightly better than Tom's average hand that he plays.
Queen Jack 9-6.
Got a lot of straight possibilities and a flush draw.
Back over to Ivy, who's got a hand similar to the one he played last pot. Ace 10 7-3. He's got hearts. Nut flush draw and a Broadway draw for Ivy.
But Tom flops top 2 pair. He's got the best hand right now.
But as we know, 2 pair is very vulnerable in PLO.
There's straight draws, there's flush draws out there. He knows Ivy plays those kind of hands.
There's the nut flush for Ivy. The 9 hits Dwan as well. He's still playing just queens and jacks as Ivy bets 10 grand.
This is a tough spot to be in here with just the top 2 pair. There's possible straights and flushes out there. He does have 6 outs if he's against one of those hands.
We've seen Dwan make a pretty big call against Galfond to start the night off with a small 2 pair.
I would kind of like to now.
Not this time.
You can pick a card if you want.
Well, no, I meant you said that.
Back-to-back pots for Phil Ivey.
This week we're playing Pot Limit Omaha.
The game is similar to No Limit Hold'em with 2 key differences.
You're dealt 4 cards instead of 2.
There's still a flop, turn, and a river, but to make a 5-card hand, you need to use exactly 2 of your whole cards and 3 from the board.
The betting's different too.
The most you can bet or raise is the size of a pot.
So that makes pre-flop all-ins less frequent.
Enjoy the action, it's a great game.
Quick refresher on the rules of the game. Ali Najad and Andy Block, glad to be with you for the continuation of our first ever PLO edition of the Poker After Dark cash game.
Ivy here likes his double-suited hand.
Dwan likes his as well as he makes it 2,700. Hastings takes a pass. And aces for Phil Galfond, suited in spades as well. But yet he just calls.
Well, he doesn't want to define his hand too much here in Pot Limit Omaha. There's a lot of betting to come. If he raises a pot right here, he's almost announcing to the table, here, I got 2 aces.
And that's clearly a big disadvantage against players who aren't afraid to make a big call pre-flop and put you on your hand.
Even a flop like this, I mean, he's got to be worried that somebody has flopped like a pair and a straight draw, or 2 pair or a set or something. His aces are always vulnerable if you don't hit another ace.
Ivy bets with what amounts to a gut shot straight draw at this point, leading into Dwan's pre-flop raise, and that gets Tom away from his hand. Over to Galfon, heads up with his aces.
His aces are the best hand right now, but he's not really sure about how the hand is going to play out after a turn card. So he's just going to call here and see what happens.
Never folding in position. Pot up to 25 grand to even. Queen of diamonds gives Ivy a flush draw.
That's going to give Ivy even more of a chance, an opportunity here to make a bluff, a semi-bluff. He's got lots of outs if he gets called. And it's going to be really hard for Galfon to call a bet here.
22,000.
Big bet on the turn gets Galfond off his hand. Well played by Ivy. PLO, not a game for the gun shy.
I assume you weren't asking that last hand like you were serious when you were asking that, right? You weren't like fishing for something? That'd be unkosher if you were. That's like the one thing.
What do you mean? What are you saying? You think on a whole nother level, my friend. It's unbelievable.
What? Tom's always conspiracy minded.
It's scary almost. Like, you know how you're gonna be when you get to my age? You're gonna be like Doyle. You gotta stop.
Bit of tutelage from Ivy.
Oh.
You know what I mean? It's
do know
to
what
ask
you mean,
people,
but it's like
like,
ridiculous.
how much do you have or something.
Even think that way is like crazy.
Well, I don't know. It's just a weird thing for you to ask.
Because I see you over there glaring over at me. You know, like I see you out of the corner of my eyes.
Yeah, but how many
trying to look at
times?
everything
Like
I
how
do.
many big pots?
I know you do it all the time,
but
but I thought maybe because I knew I flashed it pretty high this time, so I thought maybe you might have saw a card or something.
all right. I just made a huge fold and I'm angry about it. So it's on you, buddy.
I bet it was real big. But you
Fair.
really,
Top 3.
oh my God!
That's huge.
You see those 3 hearts out there?
I did.
In a straight?
I did.
Okay. If I had one of those.
3 players take the flop. King 7-8 with a couple of hearts. No flush draws. Ivy bets top pair. Galfon with the open-ended straight draw.
How did is this the last
Also has a couple of tens.
You played the one earlier, right?
Yeah, Ivy doesn't have too much to go with his top pair. He's kind of like betting here, hoping nobody calls.
Table image is pretty good right now and a bit of a heater.
I had a great seat initially.
I really like looking at you when I play. It just makes me, because it feels so much more comfortable. I do. Not gonna lie. I do.
He's always so happy, right?
What do you like about it?
I just like looking at you when I play. I enjoy it.
He's a good player. He's a young guy. And then I have Ferguson right here.
The series makes me paranoid about poker players.
I look very non-threatening.
Ivy wins the big ones and gives a small one over to Phil Galfond. Welcome back for more of the PLO edition of Poker After Dark, the cash game.
Peter Jett and John Rivera.
See me in real life.
Phil Ivy, one of only 2 winners right now in the game. He's up over 100 grand. Tom Dwan booking a modest $9,000 win.
The first,
Everyone else stuck.
first like 3 years I played live, like in tournaments and stuff. I think I just look not intimidating. People bluff me all the time. I think that's how it became a calling station, because just I kept calling and I was always right.
I still remember, I think it was literally your first hand at 300, 600 that Ivy said overset you, right?
Yeah, it's my first hand at 300, 600.
I got quite a rant from him on that.
I played.
Really? He just said overset me the
of course
first
you
hand
don't,
I ever played.
I had like 400K and I was like, I'm gonna take a shot at 300, 600. We played one hand. It was
I didn't know you had that kind of heart, Phil. That's pretty
I used
sweet.
to. I'm old now.
Well, he got set over set on the first time he played. That takes away some of it.
Yeah, no limit. 9-8, 9-8-4, two-tone. You had 9s, I had 4s.
Check.
Ivy flops a 10 high straight and checks it.
Check to me.
Yeah.
Dwan checks his flush draw, and now it's over to Galfon with the nut straight.
Got 4,000.
That's 2/3 the pot.
I think most of the young kids you see at the high stakes have that kind of heart. Because all the young kids who are rational, they don't get to the high stakes anymore. It's too hard.
But the thing is, because at that time, it was like a year ago, I had like $20, so it's like...
With the second highest straight, Ivy's now in a defensive situation, but he does have a draw to a higher straight that should keep him in the pot.
Back then, because you could lose 60K and be like, I'm just going to grind, you know, 25-50 for a week and get it back. Games were so much better, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Galfon bets again, this time 9,000.
Like 3 weeks and some days.
I admire that guy, King of Cards, the Tom Marchese guy.
I don't know. He won something.
Ivy calls again, being cautious.
As soon as he won, he stepped up and played the...
4 of clubs changes nothing.
Patrick a bunch.
Straights are so common in Omaha that when you have the second nut straight, you got to be worried about the nut straight.
Oh, was it him?
I don't think
Ivy checking a third time.
No.
Trying to control the size of the pot and make it as inexpensive as possible to look up Phil Galfon.
I can't see. Is that 15, 20, 24?
Now, to a player that bets 3 times in a row like that, he either has the nuts in this spot or he's bluffing.
I have a straight.
I'm not straight. I have a straight too. 10-6.
Sorry, I should have said nuts.
It's all right.
Ivy makes the call and gets a look at the one hand he didn't want to see.
Yeah.
Like what?
It's okay. You like looking at him. So
I do like looking at him.
So Phil Galfon gets unstuck, courtesy of Phil Ivy. Welcome back to Las Vegas for more PLO action on Poker After Dark.
You're up like $2 million on me. Can't be that scary.
I have no idea about
Well, but the
this,
sick thing was, he was probably up like $3 million at one point, where it was like more than your bankroll that he was up, you know, more than your present bankroll kind of thing, too.
Really?
A look at those chip counts show Phil Ivy still boss amongst all 6 players right now, up about 67,000.
Like, I think I'm going to play.
Galfond up about 37. Dwan booking a modest win.
I'd say like
Adams, Hastings, and Antonius all stuck 30 or 40 grand.
a lot of times none, sometimes none, and like 4 minutes later. You're just like,
Brandon has a pretty nice hand here. Aces, double suited. Gives him a lot of possibilities on the flop.
21?
He's got some straight draws as well, the 4-6 and the ace-4.
Ivy mucks 3 kings. That third king there is no help to your hand. It's like you're playing with 3 cards instead of 4.
Dwan the only caller. His clubs will be no good if they hit.
He's hoping for a straight. He does flop top 2 though, and a gut shot straight draw.
Best hand right now, and he knuckles over to Adams, who also checks behind. 3 of clubs on the turn.
If I start talking about something, I go into it for like 4 minutes.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm trying to. Well, I mean,
Adams checking in position.
Well, with aces, you know, you're not going to win a big pot when you don't hit anything there, and he's just trying to keep the pot small, try to pick off a bluff. Unfortunately for him in this case, Tom actually has a real hand. He's not bluffing.
Adams can still win the pot with a 3, 4, or an ace on the end. 5 of hearts won't cut it, though.
That card might slow down a lot of players. Brings in several possible straights, a 6-7, a 6-deuce, a ace-deuce.
We've seen Tom Dwan make thin value bets before.
Tom also knows that he's known by the other players at the table for being someone who bluffs often.
Got to give action to get action.
Still hit 2 pair on the turn too, so I would like reverse like a 2-outer.
For Brandon's aces to be good, he'd have to be up essentially against a busted flush.
Tom could also have a 9-10 jack. which would give him an inside wrap.
Queen 8.
God, no wonder I lose so much money to these guys. Queen 8.